Hi, good morning, everybody. My name is James. I'd like to welcome you all to this morning's session and thank you for joining. I'm not going to be presenting today. Rather, that honor is going to go to Eden, who's our chief technician, and I'll introduce Eden in just a moment. But rather just to say thank you to everybody for joining on this first of our information sessions for the Sungrow CX string inverter range. Before we hand over to Eden to do a lot of the technical information, what I'd like to do is really, I think, just introduce the string inverter range from a business perspective as opposed to from a technical perspective. It's the latest offering from Sungrow. Sungrow, as some of you may know, is the world's most bankable inverter manufacturer. The volume sales through Sungrow are absolutely significant. And what is most important to know is it's not Sungrow's first year being the most bankable inverter manufacturer globally. In fact, it's their third year in a row. As Hudaco Energy, we have been selected to partner with them because we have a wide network of installers, logistics, we have support, and we have account managers which are able to help you and your teams to deploy the product successfully, whether it's the CX range of string inverters, or whether it's the RT or RS range of residential hybrids, or whether it's the commercial and industrial products. We can support you from residential and commercial and industrial. Once we get to the utility scale products, then we would refer you back to Sungrow to support you on that side. What a lot of people may not be aware of is Sungrow's presence in South Africa is already significant. Last year, there was 300 megawatts, not kilowatts, megawatts of Sungrow inverters put into our market in South Africa. So the brand is strong. However, it's been traditionally a little bit limited in terms of who's been available to get to the products. And that's one of the roles that Hudaco Energy is going to fill as the distributor for the region, for Sub-Saharan Africa. We are most excited to be launching these programs where we will have online introductory training every second week or so for your teams. And then as we move forward, Eden and his team will support you with actual physical training of the hardware, whether at your premises or whether you come to our training center, or whether even in the field if it's troubleshooting, as we build the relationships moving forward. So a little bit more about why we as Hudaco worked so hard and so long with Sungrow to become their partner. And I think one of the first key points is that the reliability of the products is very high. There's a lot of products coming out of China or the Asian market where component levels might not be as high as expected, or as what people often look at as the European market. And there has traditionally been a view of a lower quality or a difference in quality. In Sungrow, that's not the case. The actual component levels are so very high that they use throughout their entire range that it's quite staggering. And when you see which other products in the market are using the same components, your eyes might get a little bit widened at the cost structure that we're able to offer the products at. In addition to just the components, the actual build quality and the finishes on the products is really, really high end. That for us is important because not only does it work really well, it looks really good, and it's very, very simple and easy to install. Critical for us is the time that you and your team spend on site. So we try and reduce that as much as possible. We try and make sure that your guys are in site or on site for a very short amount of time, and that once they leave site, they don't have to go back again and again. So that's important to us. Part of being a value-added distributor for us is not just the products, but as a value-added, it's really important for us that we're able to offer support and service. So it's not a case of if something goes wrong. We know in the design life of products, something will go wrong eventually. It's important that you are able to rely on Hudaco as a brand to come in to support you with whatever that you need as well, and really to act as an agent and a service partner to Sungrow directly. Often we see in different time zones, it's not so easy to get answers. The idea is for all of your warranties for the products bought through us, we will act as your front line in warranty. We will support you on that, and then we will go back and fight with the manufacturer for that. And then, of course, one of our other major roles is to have availability. I've just placed another order this morning. So originally we had thought to carry 5 megawatts of stock. It looks like we'll probably be carrying closer to 10 megawatts of stock, based purely on demand. What we do request, though, is for your bigger projects, please keep in mind that if you come in and you say, I've suddenly got this 2 megawatt project, I've known about it for 3 months, but I'm only ordering the day before I need it on site, what you're effectively doing is taking away from other people which may need that stock. So if you do have longer lead times on your projects, please let us know as early as possible so that we can order replacement stock and that we can always have it freely available for everybody that needs it. So if your project is only happening in 6 weeks, we can at least have it ordered 6 weeks ahead of time, and then we release your stock to you, and we only wait for 2 weeks for the next batch of stock to arrive, as opposed to waiting for 6 weeks later. So that's it. With that little bit of introduction, I want to say thanks very much. We've given enough time, I think, for everybody that is going to be arriving now to jump on the line. And I want to hand over to Eden. Eden is a PV green card trainer. He's also full-time with Hudaco Energy, and he serves the role as chief technician. And he also has some engineers that work under him on his team as well. So Eden, over to you. Thank you very much. And I wish everybody the best learning experience today.
Thank you so much, James. Thank you for the very informative introduction of our products and our business model. And thank you for everyone, to everyone who is coming to attend our training on the introduction to the CX range. And as James has already said, my name is Eden. I'm just going to take you through the CX range of inverters from Sungrow, so that we have an understanding of what you can and what you can't do, and what are the benefits and advantages of our products. Right. So just as a pointer to say what are we going to be looking at, we're not going to look at too much of the depth of the technical aspects. We'll have we'll have a look at the design of strings and configurations. We're also going to look at the configurator that we have designed at Hudaco Energy that you can use to design a system in just a matter of minutes to help you spend less time when you're designing your system. Then we're also going to look at the accessories that come with the Sungrow systems, which usually work with our inverters to make your work easier for monitoring and other aspects like data logging. And then lastly, we'll look at how our inverters can actually be integrated into I think if you have done some design before with professional softwares like PVSys and PVSol, you would have seen that you can actually do some designs there, detailed designs. So we'll also look into that just as a brief introduction to that. All right, so firstly, I would like to just play a video of the inverter range. So this covers the 33 kVA, the 50 kVA, and the 110. All right, so I'm going to play 2 videos just for everyone to have a look. They're just small videos, and then we can proceed after that. Right, so that was the 33 and the 50. Okay, I'm gonna play the video for the 110 before we continue. All right, so that was the video on the introduction to our range of inverters that we are presenting to you today. We have got the 33CX and the 50CX. Right. We are now going to get into our PowerPoint presentation, where we are going to explain in more detail exactly what we will be doing and what we'll be covering. Let me just share my presentation here. All right, so we are looking at the CX range, like I've said. I'm going to start with the 33CX and the 50CX. As you can see there, they look alike. It's just the size that is different, but generally they look alike. Very, very nice to the eye and a very compact design. And the material looks very premium. That's one of the things that is very important when you're dealing with equipment. So most importantly for technical people, there are some parameters that we need to look into. So here on this page, we have also included the 40CX, which we don't stock currently. We mostly do the 33 and the 50CX for now. Right, so you can see there the voltage ranges and also the MPPT ranges quite wide, from 200 to about 1000 volts. Right, and the number of MPPT inputs for the 33CX, we've got 3, which means, and each MPPT can take 2 inputs. So that means you can put in about 6 strings or so on the 33CX. And on the 50CX, there's 5 MPPTs, and then each string, each MPPT can take 2, which means you can put in about 10 strings. And there's also the limit to the current that you can put in there, 3 by 26, 5 by 26, as described there. Right. So those parameters are very important when it comes to designing. You know exactly how many strings you can put in and how much current you're allowed to have into the inverter, right, without actually risking blowing the inverter or some other equipment that is attached to it. All right, so the inverters are IP66 rated. That's one of the most important features that are there. The benefit to that is that you can save space inside your building or house by putting it outside, although it doesn't mean that you can put it directly in the rain or in the sun, but it can be put outside, which means it has got a high degree of tolerance to moisture and sun. But you can't directly put a socket in water. You can't do that. IP66 rating doesn't allow for that. Okay, so it can also allow for strong water sprays, although we don't recommend that you intentionally do that. But in the event that something like that happens, then your inverter is actually protected against that. Then we've got C5 anti-corrosion protection, which actually helps the inverter withstand any aggressive atmospheres where there's high humidity, and sure, in environments like your cities, your coastal towns like your Cape Towns and East London and Port Elizabeth, yeah, you actually can rest assured that your material, the material that covers the inverter, is premium, and it can withstand all those environments which are very hostile. All right. It also has type 2 SPDs on the DC and AC side, right? Meaning to say that you don't have to worry much about additional combiner boxes. That shortens your time of installation at the site, all right? Which is a very good benefit to the installer. You spend less time there. All right, and these inverters, by the way, are also transformerless, meaning to say that the weight is quite reasonable. The 33CX range is around 50 kgs and the 50CX around 62 kgs, right? And the average efficiency is very high, around 98.6%, which is a very good number. Most of your energy that you're going to be putting in is directly going to be converted into power, with very little loss. All right, and I think you saw from the videos the RS485 communication. You've got a number of options there. You've got the A2B2 on the first interface there, and then you've got your RJ45, and then you also has the one with A1B1. So what happens here is your A1B1, those are reserved for daisy chain connection of inverters. So if you want to link 2 to 3 inverters or more, then you use A1B1. So then one inverter links on the A1B1 of the next inverter, and so forth and so forth. Then the A2B2 is reserved for connections to your energy meters, your power meters and smart meters. That's where they connect on the A2B2 channel. And then your RJ45 interface is for communication and monitoring. So it's very, very important to understand that, so that you don't confuse that. A1B1 is for daisy chain connection, A2B2 is for power meters. Right. So with the A1B1 connection, you normally have that part where you just take your cable and you strip it and you connect it to the corresponding A1B1 channels for communication, right? And these interfaces are actually designed to work with any other compatible devices. You can even monitor your system with a PC or any other provided devices that we'll see on the accessories. Your RJ45 connector, that is the pin layout of your RJ45 connector, whereby you take pin 3 and pin 6 as your A and B connections. Of course, the color coding there of my cables is different. Pin 3 is normally white, green, and 6 is green. So don't be confused by the red and black that you're seeing there. Otherwise, it's just for illustration purposes. Right. So we go to string configuration. When we are dealing with string configuration, we are simply saying, how do you connect your inverter to your panels and all that, of which we have already seen that system. How you connect, we've already seen on the PDF that I showed you earlier on the MPPTs, but we can actually see that. Let me just share my screen with you here so that you see how we can put strings together. Okay, let me show you my screen there. I don't know if you guys can see this colorful page, which is an Excel document there. Guys, can you see my screen?
Yes, we can see it.
Oh, thank you. All right, so this is a configurator. This is still in the making, but the idea is to give you a taste of what it should look like and what it will do after it's done, it's completed. So we have put together an Excel sheet, which we are going to convert into some technology that we'll put on our website to make your life easy when you're doing your orders and you see the yield and the recommendations that you should follow when you're doing your orders. All right, so on this, what we simply do is you have got the option to choose your inverter, the option to choose your panels here. It also has sections where it will actually give you some pointers to say, for example, let's say I'm from Kimberley here, or I can choose any other city for that matter, or Durban, or Port Elizabeth, Nelspruit, or anything. Right. The main point is to say the average weather conditions of one town are different from the next. The irradiation levels are different from one town to the next, with some provinces receiving the highest and other provinces receiving the lowest. Right. So this is this will impact how your system performs because of the fact that you know that solar panels perform depending on temperatures, right? So we actually will put in some functionality around that to say you just choose the town that is nearest to you. If you are from Velcom, you would probably choose Bloemfontein or Kimberley, or if you are from Richards Bay, you would probably choose Durban or something like that. Right. So let's say you then choose Bloemfontein, and then you are saying you want a 110, 110.6, right? So here, immediately it will show you here the total kVAs that you get from that, right? And here, it already shows you on this side that if you are going to choose 545 watts peak panel, your recommended range per string is between 14 and 17 panels, right? This 18 here that is written here, it's because the inverter has got 9 inputs and 9 MPPTs, and each input takes 2 strings. So this is the strings that the inverter can take. But this one here is the range that is recommended for that particular inverter if you are dealing with 545 watts or 470 or 465s. Right. They need to show you here that in total, that 14 to 17 panels per string by the number of strings that the inverter can take will amount to 258 up to 309. So it's giving you an idea to say, for that inverter, if you are using 545 watts peak, you're only gonna require not less than 258 panels, not more than 309. So it's a range that makes your life easy for the design. But the actual detailed design will be done by you, the installer. Our work is just to make it easy for you to make a choice here so that you don't spend too much time doing calculations and all that. Then same applies. If you're choosing a 465 watts peak, it will show you that the string length must be between 14 and 16, and you are going to have to buy between 244 to 295 if you're working with the Sungrow CX 110 CX. Right. Then, if you go down here, this section here, let's say I've chosen to use 470 watts peak panels instead of 545s. So I know my choice should be in the range of 243 to 293. Let's say I choose middle ground, which is round about maybe 465. Sorry, 265 panels. So I'm going to choose 265 panels. Immediately, it will show me that this amounts to 124.55 kilowatts peak. That is the total size of my plant, right? And it shows me that I'm going to need an average of about 556 meters of rails. Of course, that's going to depend on the number of pieces of the rail is going to depend on how long each piece is, depending on manufacturers. But it will tell you that on average, you're going to need 556 rails, 556 meters of rail to mount that system. And the area required for that system is going to be around 594.99 square meters, on average of 595 square meters. So already, this saves you time. You already know what your client has available in terms of area, so you don't have a big problem in terms of telling them immediately that you don't have enough area to install this size of a plant, or they have to make some other alternative arrangements for their system to be installed. Here, down here, it will show you the DC to AC ratio. So if you are someone who wants your DC to AC ratio to be as high as possible, let's say to about 1.2, then you know you just have to play around with the number of modules here, right? You have to play around with the number of modules. Why? Because you want to increase your DC to AC ratio using this PV configurator. So if you check back here for the 470, the system recommends that the string length must be between 14 and 16. And already it shows that here we've got 15, which is middle ground. So you still have the allowance to go as far as 16 panels per string. And by doing so, you're increasing your DC to AC ratio, which is what you probably need if you want a more efficient system. And this is a summary of your system here in this small box here. So it will show you that your plant capacity, your nearest city is Bloemfontein. Your plant capacity is going to be about 124.55 kilowatts peak. Your AC output is going to be 110. Total number of modules that you're going to buy is 265. And total area required by those modules is 595 square meters. And if you have estimated here the distance to your DB to about 20 meters, we have just added this, an allowance of 5 meters to say if your estimation was not so accurate, you still have some 5 meters or so to play around with for your PV cables. So that will be your distance from your panels to your DB. So yeah, basically this is what our configurator does. It's still in the making. We'll add more features and put it on the website so that you guys, when you're buying, you don't have a big headache when you have to do the basics of planning your system. The detailed design, you do it in the office, but this actually gives you a very good idea of what you can do with your system. So that is the string configuration part of our presentation. Okay, and then we just want to move on. We want to go back to our PowerPoint. Just go back to PowerPoint. Right, so here, now we are looking at the accessories that the CX range works with. All right, you've got a number of accessories that we will see very soon. You've got smart meters, all right? Your three-phase smart meters and some which are single phase and others which are both, all right? So these are the most popular ones that we normally stock, the GT SD1352, which is a three-phase smart meter, and the SDM630M CT, which is an Eastern meter, which can do both single and three-phase system. All right. So with these smart meters, you can actually connect them. I think you remember what I mentioned on the ports A2, B2. You can actually connect them there on your inverter for them to measure the output of your inverter so that you can actually monitor. It does a lot of things. This meter is not only for just your power. It will also give you the frequency. It will also show you the current. It will show you a whole lot of other issues, parameters that pertain to the consumption of your energy. All right. And then from there, we've got wireless communication modules. On my left, on the left of your screen, we call that the IM4. That is the name here, the IM4. And on the right is what we call the YNET dongle. So currently, we are in the process of promoting more the YNET dongle. Why? Because the YNET dongle can do two things. It can connect to Wi-Fi. It can also connect to Ethernet connections, right? As you can see, the IM4 is only a Wi-Fi connection. This one here on the right, which is the YNET dongle, you can actually unscrew that bottom part and plug in an Ethernet cable if you don't have Wi-Fi connection, or if you prefer your Ethernet connection as opposed to Wi-Fi, right? So we're actually promoting more the YNET dongle because of its flexibility when someone doesn't have Wi-Fi or they prefer Ethernet connection. So this communication module can manage up to about 10 inverters in total. So you can monitor up to 10 inverters which are installed on site. All right. And then we've got data loggers that are compatible with the Sungrow inverters. This data logger can be the first one that we are going to talk about is the Wattmon Mega, right? The Wattmon Mega has got digital inputs and digital outputs. It has got analog inputs and analog outputs. It also has got a slot which can take about 16 gig of storage, which means you can log your data for a very long time without running out of storage. All right. So it has got an RS485 Modbus port, which can connect up to 32 devices. It also supports 3G and 4G connections using an external USB cellular dongle, right? But we'll look into all that on the details of those products as we progress with our trainings. This is just an introductory training. Then we've got what is called the Wattmon Mini 3, which is a smaller version of your Wattmon Mega. All right. You can do inverter monitoring there. You can do AC/DC power monitoring of mini grids and battery voltages. You can also have your weather station monitored to check your atmospheric conditions, irradiation and temperatures. You can also do zero feed in and DG protection using the Wattmon Mini 3. Okay, so it's also another accessory that comes that you might need to order with your Sungrow inverters. Then we've got the COM 100D and E. These are two devices which actually do more or less the same thing. The only difference between the D and E is that the D can connect to both 4G and Wi-Fi, while the E only connects to Wi-Fi. So depending on your particular situation, you can choose whether you want to buy the COM100D or COM100E, of which I think for flexibility, you might just want to buy one which allows you to connect to both. Okay, so with this, you can actually monitor in real time in the background a whole lot of things, right? As you can see, this connection here, we've got a weather station, we've got our PV modules connected to the inverter and our grid there, and an energy meter all connected through an RS485 connection to the COM100. And the COM100 links to either Wi-Fi or 4G, and then it will also connect to the iSolarCloud. The iSolarCloud is an application that we use to configure our Sungrow range of inverters and other accessories. It also contains your monitoring features. So the COM100D is a data logger, which then connects to your iSolarCloud. So we'll have detailed trainings on these products, but here we're just showing you some other supporting equipment that you can actually use to work with your inverters. All right, so basically that's it for our introduction to the products. We'll leave the time to those who might have questions or additions to what we have presented. For now, like I've said, we'll have sessions which have got more detailed explanations on each and every product as we progress into the year. Thank you. All right, guys, it's time for your questions. Does it mean you all understood what we said, or you're totally confused?
Eden, there's a couple of questions which have come in.
Okay.
Got one from, oh, hang on, they've just gone. From Nick, who's asked, are these compatible with storage? We've got Nimrod has asked whether we can share these as well. So maybe we start with the answer to Nick first in terms of storage.
Okay. Is it a question to say, are the inverters compatible with storage?
It doesn't specify.
Well, so I think
yeah. So go ahead.
Yeah, I think it's. Let me just answer it in two parts, right? So the inverters are strictly grid-tied inverters. They don't work with storage. All right. We're going to look at those that we have which actually work with storage. The 10RT and 6RS, single phase and three phase inverters for those who want to use with storage. All right, so that is the one part. But if it's about the other accessories, the other accessories actually do work with storage. They can be part of any system with storage if it's about the accessories. But if it's the inverters, the ones that we are talking about today, the CX range doesn't work with storage. So it's strictly a grid-tied inverters.
Thanks very much. So Nick, maybe then to add to that, these are grid-tied inverters. In other words, they're a current source. We will have a separate session, however, on the commercial and industrial storage range. And in that particular range, these inverters become AC coupled to the storage. So they can form part of the system, but they are current source inverters. They are not voltage source. Okay.
Okay. So then the next question was, do you have a scheduled training for more detailed components? All right, we are in the process of coming up with a schedule. It should be out shortly. You'll be notified of those plans to hold trainings on each and every one of our components in more detail. We also have a plan to say, over and above the online trainings, if you need us to be at your site, we would want to come and help and have some time with you. So that is also in the pipeline. So we'll inform you shortly once we have finalized on our schedule. Those are the questions that I see so far. Do we have any more questions?
It looks like we have Adrian writing a question now.
Okay.
Sorry, so just to discuss maybe some of the component training which will happen. There are really, I think, 4 main areas, perhaps 5 main areas where we will be discussing. Obviously, one is this one, which is the inverters themselves. We have another section on the storage systems for residential and small commercial. We will have another session on the larger commercial and industrial storage. We will also have a session then on the monitoring and control. We have a couple of different options, and it's very important to understand that you're not bound just by using one. So if you're used to meteor control, for example, you're welcome to use that. All of these Modbus registers are freely available to you. We can send them out, and you can integrate them directly into your own custom systems, or pretty much all of your major systems already have the Modbus registers loaded. Through us, we have 2 offers. We have the Sungrow's direct offer, which is called the COM 100 range or the COM 1000 range, depending on what size of product you're using. The COM 100 range has got 0 export functionality as well. And then we also offer the Wattmon solution, WATTMON Mini 3. And that has both, obviously it integrates directly with the inverters. It also has 0 feedback functionality, and it has diesel generator protection on it. So depending on what your use case is, Eden, his team, or your account managers will be able to support you and guide you in terms of which monitoring and control solutions we have as well. So Adrian, we will have a full separate one. I see that's exactly your question, the online monitoring platform. If you pop Sean or myself or Eden or Vondre just a request, we can give you access to a demo site of the iSolarCloud. iSolarCloud is the Sungrow direct version. And we can also give you a demo of what the Wattmon solution looks like, which is the third-party solution, but that integrates very neatly with the diesel generator protection. And we're happy to do that for you.
All right, guys. Thank you, James, for addressing some of the questions there. So, as we initially said, this is just an introduction to the Sungrow CX inverters and how they work and what other options are available, right? It's not a detailed training on exactly how the inverter will link with the Wattmon or how it will link with the iSolarCloud app. We'll get into that as we progress into the year. Like I said, we're in the process of coming up with our schedule, which will actually publish to all our interested parties. And then you can have the platform to ask all the questions and get the training as much as you need. All right. I don't know if there's anything else that anyone would want to ask or add before we call it a day.
I think that's it, Eden. And just from my side, thank you so much for everyone that joined. We really appreciate your time and efforts. And a big thanks to you, Eden, for presenting. And if you have any other inquiries on the CX range, please contact Vondre. I'm based in Joburg, or Sean based in Cape Town, and we will gladly assist. And from my side, have a great weekend and thank you.
Also, there's a question there by Abraham, which says, how do we go about opening accounts with Hudeco? I think the sales team can address that.
That's it. Amit, if you just pop Sean a message, Sean will send you the different application, whether you're looking at opening a cash account or a credit account. We can send you all that information straight to you. Obviously, if it's a credit account, there's some financial documentation which is required. If not, and you're looking purely for a cash account, then it's just a matter of completing the same documentation, but you don't need all the signatures and you don't need a lot of the supporting information to support it. Okay.
All right, thank you guys. Have a lovely weekend.
Thanks, Eden. Cheers, everybody.
Thank you. Bye.